back at it again. It's the Haiti Economic News Show, Monday to Friday, bringing you news that's going to keep you informed, engaged, and reacting in the most optimal way for your business, investment, and entrepreneurial activity. Today is the 8th of April. Let's talk about it. So we have a few different things going on, and more or less this episode is going to be an update episode rather than an episode where we kind of sort of deep dive on a particular issue or topic or news session, really because there just hasn't been bigger news, much other news outside of this or these particular topics. The first one being the gas situation. It's been rough out here. We have long queues. We have folks who are just unable to get gas. In fact, this weekend I personally saw folks sleeping at gas stations that were empty, but sleeping at gas stations just so that when the tanker actually came, they would be in a advantageous position to get their vehicles gasoline in them. And again, these are folks who depend on their vehicles and getting gasoline for a living. We're talking about tap drivers. We're talking about moto drivers, and also we're talking about just the average person in the street who needs gasoline to get to work and drop their kids off and the whole nine. Personally, myself, I had an incredible Seejeanty episode planned where we're going to go to Mia Ballet and interview some of the great projects being done by a great associate of mine who flew in from Boston. I couldn't shoot because I couldn't get gas, so I couldn't drive out to there, and it's incredibly disappointing because I love bringing awesome new content to you guys. And again, I was going to highlight the city of Mirabelez as well because there's a lot of other things going on in that city that really deserves highlighting in addition to one of the country's best hospitals. I was looking forward to show you guys that and highlight that, but unfortunately we couldn't do it because we didn't have gas. I know my last episode on Haiti Biz News, we talked about some good news that are coming. The Prime Minister announced that BMPOD wasn't going to be in that market, or the arm of the government that currently manages it or mismanages it, wouldn't be in that market. But that hasn't happened yet. And after speaking with a few experts, legal experts, it's questionable whether or not the Prime Minister even can implement such a thing because it was a law passed by Haitian Senate, and possibly if a new Prime Minister who's actually been voted on possibly might do acts to lessen his requirement to enforce laws passed by the Haitian Senate. Certainly the interim Prime Minister most likely can't do such a thing, right? And so we're in a wait and see mode. Certainly the only thing that's going to get us out of this is liberalization, allowing distributors to purchase directly from the market, because there's another part of this that we haven't talked about, which is the distributors themselves. I guess you can say blackballing Haitian government, because there's some that have gas to distribute, but per my sources, they've decided not to distribute it, right? So again, it's a very complex issue that really deserves a longer segment. But I can just tell you, as it stands right now, gas is still in very much short supply. We don't know when things are going to improve. And so certainly as information comes in that is truly needed to provide its own segment, we'll get into it, right? The next piece of information we want to provide is concerning the update on the wage increase. We'd had an episode last week where we talked about how the different segments in the economy experienced on average a 30 to 40% increase in their wage by law. The Haitian Senate passed in an overwhelming majority a increase in the Haitian minimum wage. I commented that it was a good thing. I commented because of the currency, devaluation, and high inflation and other costs of living. It was absolutely necessary and actually a far cry of what it was actually needed to allow Haitians who were working to actually be able to have a wage that is, though still very low, but at least in line with the realities on the ground. Unfortunately, those who know, unfortunately, as much as I'm a big proponent for capitalism, big proponent for for-profit and the market-driven initiatives, one of the negative aspects of that part of system is that it generally isn't very pro-social changes and necessary actions that are really for the general macro social benefit of the society at large. And so we're seeing a lot of actors very angry of such an increase, and threatening to leave the country. We're seeing that most vocally in the garment sector. The garment sector has and just the last week had reported of the massive news of 12,000 new jobs being created by one of the larger wage garment industries. Even that's at risk right now. And so there is pushback, there's anger, because particularly for the garment industry, they saw some of the larger increases for their minimum wage standards. And so a lot of them are threatening to leave. I personally, in my opinion, think it's not good. It is a very egregious act when these owners of these factories should know what has been going on in the economic situation in the country, both in terms of devaluation of the currency, which I'm sure they're on top of, and they've been gaining or winning because of the fact that they're exporting out. And so that's certainly, I'm sure they've been paying attention and keeping track of the positive economic monetary effects on their books. But in addition to the inflation, which I'm sure if they were to talk to anyone in their employees, they'll tell them how expensive things are continuing to be year over year. And so this was an absolutely necessary thing. There's no doubt about it. And their overall bottom line should not have been affected as negative as they're saying it is, simply because the Gourde has been devaluating so aggressively that the 70% increase on paper is probably really more akin to 30%, possibly 20% in real terms, right? So Jovenel, we have an article. Jovenel has been meeting with these guys and trying to assure them and provide confidence and assurances. But I think they're looking for concessions. And I think one of the things I mentioned in my last video was that I'm all for wage increases. The Haitian working class, if you want to call it that, so small, right? It's such a small segment and it's so moderately paid. They need that. But the problem I had is that, okay, well, we're doing this, but when are we going to improve the business climate, the business owner climate, right? When are we going to have an easier process to register businesses? When are we going to have an opportunity, an easier process to pay taxes? When are we going to have an online system to pay those taxes where we don't have to burn an entire day or burn a resource to go down there on our behalf to wrangle? When are we going to increase transparency of that process? And on and on and on. There has been no structural improvements on the way business is done, which isn't right? And I think that's probably something that I hope that the owners, in addition to the wage discussions, are talking about. And that's certainly something that needs to be talked about, because if you're going to help one side of the labor market, we have to ensure that the other side is appropriately being taken care of from some perspective. And we're not seeing that in Haiti. We're not. So not much more to talk about other than, a lot of folks who are in the business class, are in different industries are very mad. And the Haitian government is in effect in damage control mode. Okay? So what I really want to talk about today is really an update to the Haitian Gourde. Was decreasing at the time. It's since stabilized at about $1 for 80 goods. It's been hovering around that. It's decreased a little bit, increased a little bit, but it's hovering around there. But the fact remains is that I wanted to talk about very quickly what has been done in those three areas that I was mentioning. Again, the first being an import-based economy with no real exports, a budget deficit, in part led by franchise, and a negative perception of the Haitian business economy. Well, I can keep it real short with you. the perception of the Haitian economy, Haiti and the Haitian economy has changed, okay, from the international markets. And so we still have that downward push. I can keep it real short and tell you the import-based economy hasn't changed because there's been no real push to work with or surcharge any of our export economies, though the textiles have been doing somewhat good despite all the massive economic situations that have been going on. They've been doing okay. Probably, if you really dig in, it's probably in part because of devaluating good, actually. They've been doing relatively okay, despite, again, one of the bigger things being the political instability and the pays loc and everything. But and overall, we still haven't had the necessary growths to really drive change in the economic situation. But one thing that has changed has been the fact that the former prime minister said that all franchises are going to stop, except for a few handful, which I discussed in a prior video. It was a little too loose for my liking. They left it a little too loose, a little too open, in my opinion. And so you can still have a lot of them try to use the exceptions to stay and keep their franchise. But in any case, there wouldn't be any more new ones, except if it were to go, it has to go through the prime minister, right? And so at the very least, we could see a decrease in its growth, and hopefully the amount that we're going to be removed would be enough to certainly allow some of those income to return back to the economy. And again, the franchise system. So you understand that it's not all bad. The franchise system was created to drive growth towards a particular sector. So if there was a particular sector that the government said, we really need this sector to grow, all right, let's lower the import taxes on goods related to the sector. But the reality is it's not done like that. It's entirely across the entire economy, and it's to the detriment of income that the Haitian government needs. And of course, my thing is be clear, I want you guys to understand. I don't see any efficiencies in the Haitian government getting more money. I don't really see it if it's gonna go to actual development. I'm gonna be honest with you. I always want you guys to be very clear. I am not naive to the realities of the complete inefficiency and debauchery of the Haitian government when it comes to managing anything that it touches. But it is very important that, regardless of what they're doing with their money, that the books balance. Because when the books don't balance, as I talk about in that video, what occurs is equivalent to the Haitian government printing money. And we cannot have that, okay? And so wherever the Haitian government can increase revenue, the better the overall economic situation will be, regardless of what they're doing with it, because you're not in a government deficit and having to drive that government deficit with what is in effect printed money. So I just want to give an update on that in that regard to that video. Now, with the former prime minister gone, with the new prime minister coming, we're going to keep a very close eye on how franchisees are being managed and that process, or any news related to it. We're going to come back and talk to you about it because it is very important. At least one of the three big horsemen seems to potentially is being dealt with. And so we're going to be a very close eye because everyone needs a stable good. Everybody, from the top to bottom, everyone needs a stable good. So again, but do watch that video. We do talk about how to benefit a decreasing good, and it was really fun to talk about. To put on my economic degree hat on and just give you guys a full rundown of what was going on, right? So I think that covers it for today. I want to appreciate you guys who watched the whole video. If you did watch the whole video, you already know, give it a like, right? If you're not subscribed, come on, subscribe, right? Because we do this every day, Monday to Friday, and we're breaking down in Haitian news from an economic perspective to allow folks to make better decisions as they're trying to hopefully move in to invest and do business in the country. So give it a subscribe, If you know somebody who would appreciate this information day to day, share it with them, right? And I appreciate a comment. When I do my Haiti Biz live segments, I like to refer to them. I like to answer them in those videos. And even before I answer them in video, I'll give you a comment and respond to you. So down there, drop a comment. Until we're back at it again, we'll be back at it again.